part of being autistic means that I wasn't really aware of people in my formative years. If I was made fun of in school, I don't remember. Because I wasn't really aware of my peers at all. I was just in my own little world. And it wasn't until around the time I hit high school that I realized that there were other people in the world. I also realized that there were people who had pain in their lives. Since I had depression over and over again, the first types of people that I reached out to try to help were other people who had depression. And so at 16 years old, I found myself volunteering on suicide forums. It was a really good experience for me. I had a lot of success and helped people and saw a lot of failure at the same time. I served a mission in Italy, loved it, didn't think at all about same-gender attraction or anything else while I was there. I just had a blast. And as soon as I came back, I started dating. The problem was I wasn't at all physically attracted to the girls I was dating. Every other boy they'd ever dated had at least held their hand, or had at least told them how pretty they looked. I ended up breaking up with most of the girls I dated because I could tell that they were much more invested in the relationship than I could be, and because I couldn't tell them really why I wasn't as invested as they were. Then one day I had a realization. I realized that there were other members of the church that had same-gender attraction. I don't know why this had never occurred to me before, but I honestly thought that I was the only person in the world. And when I had that realization that there were other faithful members of the church who wanted to be faithful, but had same-gender attraction and maybe had struggled with it or were currently struggling with it, I was filled with this huge desire to share what I had learned, to be able to help other people to overcome their trials, the same type of thing that I had done with depression years before. And so I put a post on Craigslist. And I posted and said, just in Provo area, and I posted in the Men Seeking Men, and I said, hey, if you are an LDS person trying to live a faithful life, email me. If you want someone to talk to, someone to work through things with, just talk to me, and I'll see what I can do to help. And that night I got 70 replies, just from one post. And the next 4 days, I spent talking with people. I had between 2 and 4 chat windows open all at the same times, talking to people from all over the world because for some reason they read Provo Craigslist. And I found that everyone that was talking with me was pretty much asking the same questions. I found myself answering the questions pretty much similarly from one person to the next, and sometimes even copy-pasting. I thought, well, why don't I just start a blog? So that's when Gay Mormon Guy started. For most of its existence, Gay Mormon Guy has actually just been an opportunity to share online so that if people needed help, they would contact me personally. It was an opportunity for me to sort of work out the things that I was feeling, and also to be able to have an impact on people's individual lives. Since I started the blog 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I've had over 3,000 emails. It meant that whenever I personally had temptations, I would be able to say, hey, if I fall into this, I could get an email in an hour, and I need to be able to have inspiration to be able to help someone in their life. So I can't afford to do this. I feel really strongly that from God's perspective, all the things that we face in our life are simply blessings. And He has a recipe that He knows will transform us into something divine. When you're baking, whether it's a sugar cookie or bread, there are basic ingredients that go into everything. If you taste the ingredients by themselves, one by one, they all taste pretty nasty. But when you mix them all together, suddenly you see that there was a design in hand. There isn't a difference in quality or in value between the sugar and the salt. My brother has cancer right now. He's going through chemotherapy for leukemia. But I have seen so many blessings in my life because of his cancer. Things that I've learned from that I never would have been able to learn otherwise. And he's seen the same thing. And so when God puts things into our lives, I don't think that he's putting in sugar with the intent to say, hey, this tastes good, so I'm going to give it to you. But he puts in the sugar because he says, hey, this isn't the recipe. This is what's needed here. He puts in the salt because, hey, this isn't the recipe. This is what's needed here. And in his eyes, they're both just ingredients in the divine cause of changing us into who we want to be. I, like most people, fell into the trap of believing that happiness came from following a set of things in life. I went to BYU, I started a faithful mission, I dated, I had everything that I needed to do. And yet, happiness didn't seem to come. And if I could go back and talk to myself, I would try to communicate that happiness doesn't come from completing a set of checklists or questions. It doesn't come from doing things on the outside, but it comes from becoming a different person. It comes from becoming like Christ.